The gate wouldn't open. Adrian Clay stood there in his Mercedes, engine idling, key fob clicking uselessly in his hand. Click, click, click. Nothing. The iron gates to his mansion, remained shut like a locked vault. What the hell, he muttered, jabbing the button again. A figure emerged from the guardhouse. Not his usual security guy. Someone else. Clipboard in hand. Official looking. Adrian rolled down his window, irritation already blooming into anger. Excuse me, who are you? And why isn't my gate working? The man approached slowly, professionally. Mr. Adrian Clay? Obviously. This is my house. Now open the damn gate. The officer, because that's what he was, Adrian could see the badge now, didn't flinch. He extended a manila envelope through the window. Court order, sir. Property's been legally frozen pending investigation. You'll need to appear before a judge. The words hit like stones dropping into still water. Frozen. Investigation. Judge. There's been a mistake, Adrian said, but his voice had lost its edge. I own this property. My wife and I are divorcing. Everything's already filed. Legal. Not according to this injunction, sir. The officer tapped the envelope. Mrs. Marin Clay has filed for asset protection. Federal review's underway for potential fraud. You'll find the details inside. Adrian's hands went cold. Marin, his wife. The woman he'd left in Florence 3 weeks ago with nothing but a divorce notice and a hotel bill. The woman who should have been broken, helpless, scrambling to survive without him. How could she do this? This is ridiculous, he snapped, snatching the envelope. Marin doesn't even know how to work our online banking. She can't possibly. You're welcome to contest it in court, sir. Hearing scheduled for next Tuesday. Until then, you cannot enter this property or access any jointly held accounts. The officer stepped back. Professional. Final. Adrian sat there, engine running, staring at the gates that had always opened for him. Gates he'd paid for. A house he'd built. A life he'd designed. Behind those gates was everything. His office. His art collection. His custom closet. His things. And suddenly they were hers. Hi viewers, kindly tell us where you're watching from and what time it is. Warm welcome to the family. Enjoy the story. He drove away in a daze, the envelope burning on the passenger seat. He couldn't go home. Not to his home anyway. So, he went to the only other place he had, Crystal's apartment downtown. His girlfriend. His assistant. The woman he'd promised a future to once he was free. She opened the door in yoga pants and one of his old shirts. Hair in a messy bun. Younger. Prettier. Uncomplicated. Baby, you're early, she stopped. Saw his face. What happened? Marin. He pushed past her into the apartment. She's locked me out. Frozen the accounts. There's a court order. Crystal's face shifted. Not concern. Something colder. Calculation maybe. Wait. What do you mean frozen? Like, all of it? I don't know yet. I haven't even opened the damn thing. He tossed the envelope onto her coffee table like it might explode. She stared at it. Then at him. Adrian, you said this was handled. You said she signed everything. She did. In Italy. The divorce papers were delivered. He paced, running his hands through his hair. She had nothing. No passport, no money. How could she possibly? You took her passport? He stopped. Looked at her. It was strategic. To keep her from running back here and complicating things. Crystal's expression went flat. You left your wife stranded in another country without ID? Don't make me sound like a villain. She was going to fight the divorce anyway. I just moved things along. The silence that followed was sharp. Crystal picked up the envelope, turned it over in her hands. Didn't open it. Just held it like evidence. You need to read this, she said quietly. So he did. And with every word, the ground beneath him shifted. Injunction for asset protection. Investigation into offshore accounts. Falsified business documents. Unauthorized fund transfers. Witness testimony pending. Federal involvement authorized. His name, repeated over and over. His accounts. His moves. All documented. All traced. This is insane, he whispered. She couldn't have done this alone. She doesn't even know these accounts exist. But someone did. Someone had helped her. And whoever it was had been thorough. Precise. Merciless. Crystal set down her wine glass. Adrian, how much are we talking about? What? The offshore accounts. How much did you move? He looked at her. Really looked. And saw it then, the doubt creeping in. The fear. Not for him. For herself. Enough, he said. Enough to go to jail? He didn't answer. She stood up, crossed her arms. I need to think about this. Think about what? Crystal, we're in this together. You and me. That was the plan. Your plan, she corrected. I didn't know you were hiding money. I didn't know you committed fraud. I didn't commit. You left your wife in a foreign country without a passport, Adrian. Her voice cracked. That's not strategy. That's cruelty. And now it's coming back. He wanted to argue, to explain, to make her understand that Maren was the past and she was the future. But the words wouldn't come. Because deep down, in the part of himself he never looked at, he knew the truth. He'd underestimated her. He'd thought Maren was weak, dependent, disposable. He'd thought wrong. Crystal walked to the door and opened it. I think you should go. You're serious. I have a career, Adrian. A reputation. I'm not going down with you. And just like that, she was done. He left. No fight. No plea. Just left. Driving through the city with nowhere to go, Adrian finally understood what he'd lost. Not the house. Not the money. Control. For 32 years, he'd held all the cards. Made all the moves. Kept Maren exactly where he wanted her. Devoted, obedient, invisible. And now she'd flipped the board. The hearing was in 6 days. What happens when the man who had everything faces the woman he left with nothing? 32 years earlier, I believed in fairy tales. Not the princess kind. The practical kind. The kind where two people work hard, build something real, and grow old watching sunsets from a porch they bought together. Adrian Clay walked into my life when I was 27, working double shifts at a diner in Cleveland. He came in every Tuesday, ordered black coffee and wheat toast, always left a generous tip. Always smiled like he saw something in me nobody else did. You're too smart to be here, he said one morning. I laughed, refilling his cup. Smart doesn't pay rent. No, but ambition does. He slid a business card across the counter. I'm starting a consulting firm. Need someone organized, sharp, willing to learn. You interested? I should have asked more questions. Should have wondered why a man in an expensive suit was recruiting waitresses. But I was tired. Broke. Hungry for something more than grease-stained aprons and customers who snapped their fingers for ketchup. So I said yes. Within 6 months, I wasn't just his assistant. I was his partner. I organized client files, managed schedules, learned accounting software on lunch breaks. Adrian had vision, but I had discipline. He dreamed big. I made those dreams real. We're a team, he'd say, kissing my forehead after another successful pitch. You and me, Maren. We're going to build an empire. We got married a year later. Small ceremony. His family didn't come. They thought I wasn't good enough. My family couldn't afford the trip from Nebraska. So it was just us, a judge, and 2 witnesses we pulled from the courthouse hallway. It didn't matter. We had each other. The business grew. Clay Consulting became Clay and Associates. We bought a small office. Then a bigger one. Hired staff. Landed corporate contracts. Adrian handled clients. I handled everything else, operations, payroll, vendor negotiations, tax filings. You're the backbone of this company, he told me once, late at night in our cramped apartment. I couldn't do any of this without you. I believed him. Our sons came next. Michael first, then James 2 years later. I worked through both pregnancies, laptop balanced on my belly during conference calls, typing invoices between contractions. Adrian was proud. Called me his superwoman. But something shifted after the boys were born. Slowly. Almost invisibly. Adrian started making decisions without me. signing contracts I hadn't reviewed, meeting clients I'd never heard of. When I asked questions, he'd smile that same charming smile and say, "Don't worry about it, babe. I've got this handled." But we always review contracts together. Used to. But you're busy with the kids now. I don't want to burden you. Burden. The word stung, but I swallowed it. Maybe he was right. Maybe I was stretched too thin. Maybe this was just marriage, people adapting, roles shifting. So I stepped back, focused on the boys, on the home, on being the wife who didn't complain. The company kept growing. We moved into a bigger house, then a mansion. Adrian wore custom suits, joined country clubs, started introducing himself as founder and CEO instead of, "We built this together." I didn't correct him. Not in public. At home, I'd mention it. Gently. "Adrian, I helped build this company too. It feels strange when you—" "Of course you did, honey." He'd kiss my cheek, distracted. "Everyone knows you're important. But let's be honest. I'm the face people trust. That's just how business works." I told myself it didn't matter. That pride was petty. That supporting him was supporting us. But piece by piece, I disappeared. From board meetings. From decision-making. From my own story. By our 20th anniversary, I wasn't a partner anymore. I was a wife. A mother. A woman who showed up to company events in designer dresses, smiled for photos, and went home alone while Adrian stayed late for networking. I started noticing little things. Receipts for dinners I hadn't attended. Charges on credit cards for hotels in cities he'd never mentioned visiting. Cologne I didn't recognize. "Adrian, where were you last Thursday?" "Pittsburgh. Client meeting." "I told you." "You didn't tell me." He sighed, that patient sigh reserved for children and annoyances. "Maren, I can't report every move to you. I'm running a business." "We're running a business." "Right. Of course." He grabbed his keys. "I have another meeting. Don't wait up." And he'd leave. Again. I'd stand in our enormous kitchen, surrounded by granite and stainless steel and silence, wondering when exactly I'd become a stranger in my own life. The boys grew up, went to college, started careers across the country. They called on holidays, sent cards. But they were Adrian's sons, driven, ambitious, always chasing the next achievement. I was just mom, the background character. And Adrian? He was thriving. New gym membership, expensive haircuts, suddenly concerned about skincare. He bought a convertible, started wearing jeans that cost more than my first car. Midlife crisis? My sister joked when I mentioned it. Maybe, I said, but I knew better. Men don't reinvent themselves for no reason. One night, I woke up at 2 a.m. Adrian's side of the bed was empty. I found him downstairs in his office, door cracked, voice low and warm in a way it hadn't been with me in years. "No, I can't wait either," he murmured. "Just a few more months. I promise." I backed away before he could see me, climbed back into bed, stared at the ceiling until dawn. That's when I knew, not suspected. Knew. My husband was leaving. Maybe not tomorrow. Maybe not next week. But soon. And I had no idea how to stop it. 3 months later, over dinner at a restaurant too fancy for a Tuesday, Adrian smiled across the table and said the words that would unravel everything. "Let's take a trip to Italy. Just us. Reconnect." His eyes were cold. Did I see my ending coming, or was I too afraid to look? The cracks didn't appear overnight. They grew slowly, like roots breaking through concrete. It started with the gym. Adrian had never been a fitness guy. In 30 years, I'd never seen him voluntarily break a sweat. But suddenly, at 58, he was waking up at 5 a.m. for training sessions. "Good for you," I said, watching him chug a protein shake. "What brought this on?" "Health, Maren. I'm not getting any younger." Fair enough. Except the health kick came with designer workout clothes, a personal trainer named Sasha, and a sudden obsession with his reflection. He'd stand in front of the mirror, flexing, sucking in his stomach, turning sideways like he was preparing for a magazine shoot. "Do I look thinner?" You look fine, Adrian. Fine? That's it. He frowned. I've lost 12 pounds. Then you look great. But great wasn't enough. Nothing I said was enough anymore. Next came the cologne. Expensive stuff in a sleek black bottle. The kind of scent that announced itself before he entered a room. New cologne. I asked one morning. Client gift. He sprayed it on thick. You like it? It's strong. Strong is confident. He checked his watch. Also new, also expensive. I've got meetings all day. Don't wait up. Don't wait up. His new favorite phrase. He started working late every night. Weekends too. Business trips doubled. Then tripled. Cities I'd never heard him mention before. Miami, Austin, Vegas. Why Vegas? I asked once. We don't have clients there. Expanding, he said, barely looking up from his phone. New market opportunities. Shouldn't I know about expansion plans? He finally looked at me then. Really looked. And in his eyes, I saw something I'd never seen before. Irritation. Like I was a problem to be managed. Marin, you haven't been involved in day-to-day operations in years. I appreciate your concern, but I've got this handled. I built this company with you. Helped build, he corrected. And I'm grateful. But things change. Business evolves. You've been focused on the home, which is important. Let me handle the rest. I wanted to argue, to remind him of the late nights I'd spent balancing books while he schmoozed clients, the contracts I'd negotiated, the crises I'd solved. But his phone buzzed. He glanced at it and smiled. Actually smiled. I have to take this. He walked out of the room, voice dropping to that warm, intimate tone I used to recognize. I stood there in our kitchen, surrounded by marble and stainless steel, feeling like a ghost in my own house. My sister noticed it first. He's having an affair, Linda said bluntly over coffee one afternoon. Don't be ridiculous. Marin, wake up. New clothes, new cologne, constant phone calls, working late every night? Classic signs. He's just stressed. The business is growing. The business has been growing for 30 years. This is different. She leaned forward. When's the last time he touched you? I opened my mouth. Closed it. Couldn't remember. Exactly. Linda squeezed my hand. I'm not trying to hurt you. I'm trying to help you see what's right in front of you. But I didn't want to see. Seeing meant acknowledging. Acknowledging meant choosing. And I wasn't ready to choose anything except denial. I started paying attention though. Noticing. The way he angled his phone away when texting. The way he showered immediately after coming home, like he was washing something off. The way he flinched when I touched him. Adrian, can we talk? About what? He didn't look up from his laptop. Us. We barely spend time together anymore. I'm busy, Marin. You know this. Too busy for your wife. He sighed. Set down the laptop. Looked at me with the patience of someone explaining basic math to a child. What do you want me to say? That I'm not busy? I am. The company's at a critical growth phase. I'm securing our future. Our retirement. I'd think you'd appreciate that. I do appreciate it. I miss you. The words hung in the air, pathetic and desperate. He softened slightly. I know. It's temporary. Things will slow down soon. But they didn't slow down. They accelerated. More trips. More late nights. More distance. I found a receipt once, crumpled in his jacket pocket. Dinner for two at a steakhouse downtown. On a night he'd told me he was in Chicago. Adrian, you were in town last Tuesday? He barely paused. Flew back early. Had a local meeting. You didn't come home. It was late. Stayed at the office. He grabbed his keys. Why are you interrogating me? I'm not interrogating. I'm asking. Same thing. He headed for the door. I've got to go. And he was gone. Again. I called the restaurant. Asked if they kept reservation records. Clay party of 2, the hostess confirmed. Table for Mr. Clay and guest. Do you remember who the guest was? I'm sorry, ma'am. We don't track that information. But I knew. Deep down, in the place where truth lives before we're ready to face it, I knew. That night, I went through his credit card statements. Months worth. Hotels. Jewelry stores. A lingerie boutique. I never received lingerie. My hands shook as I screenshotted everything. Sent it to myself. Deleted the evidence from his computer. When Adrian came home that night, I was waiting in the living room. We need to talk. Not tonight, Maren. I'm exhausted.
Adrian.
Sit down. Something in my voice made him stop. He sat. Wary now. I showed him the statements. The receipts. The charges. What is this? You tell me. Business expenses. Lingerie is a business expense? His face hardened. You're going through my things now? Seriously? You're lying to me. Who is she? There is no she. He stood. You're being paranoid. Seeing things that aren't there. I'm seeing credit card charges, Adrian. Facts. You're seeing what you want to see. Maybe you're bored. Maybe you need a hobby. But don't project your insecurity onto me. The words hit like a slap. Insecurity. Paranoia. Boredom. He was making me the problem. I'm not crazy, I whispered. I didn't say you were crazy. I said you're stressed. Maybe you should talk to someone. A therapist. And just like that, he'd flipped it. Made my concern into my flaw. He left the room. Left me sitting there, drowning in self-doubt. Maybe I was wrong. Maybe there was an explanation. Maybe I was pushing him away with my suspicion. 2 weeks later, he came home with an idea. Let's take a trip to Italy. I looked up from my book. What? Italy. Florence. Just the two of us. Reconnect. He smiled, but it didn't reach his eyes. We need this, Maren. I need this. I wanted to believe him. Wanted to think that maybe, somehow, we could find our way back. So I said yes. But sometimes the invitation isn't a second chance. It's a goodbye dressed in promises. Florence smelled like old stone and new beginnings. We landed on a Wednesday afternoon, jet-lagged and quiet. The city stretched before us in shades of terracotta and gold, beautiful in a way that felt almost cruel. This is going to be good for us, Adrian said, grabbing our luggage. I wanted to believe him. Our hotel was stunning, a converted villa overlooking the Arno River. Balcony with iron railings. Marble floors. Windows that framed the city like paintings. It's beautiful, I said. You deserve beautiful. He kissed my forehead, brief and businesslike. Let's settle in, then explore. The first 2 days were almost normal. We wandered through the Uffizi Gallery, stood in front of Botticelli's Birth of Venus, ate gelato near the Ponte Vecchio. Adrian held my hand occasionally, smiled for photos, played the part of attentive husband. But his phone was always there, always buzzing, always pulling his attention away. Work? I asked after the 20th interruption.
Sorry.
Big deal closing. Can't ignore it. You're in Italy, Adrian. Can't they handle 1 week without you? His jaw tightened. Some of us can't just check out, Maren. The business doesn't pause because we're on vacation. There it was again. That edge. That implication that I was the burden, the weight, the one who didn't understand real responsibility. I stopped asking after that. On the 3rd day, we planned to visit Siena. I was actually excited. Medieval streets, the famous Piazza del Campo, a break from the tension simmering between us. But that morning, Adrian was different. Distant. Distracted. He barely touched his breakfast, kept checking his watch like he had somewhere else to be. You okay? I asked.
Fine.
Just thinking about the day. We don't have to go to Siena, if you're not feeling it. No, we should go. But his voice was flat. Empty. Adrian, what's wrong? He looked at me then. Really looked. And for just a moment, I saw something flicker across his face. Guilt maybe. Or relief. Nothing's wrong. I'll meet you in the lobby in an hour. Need to make a few calls first. At 7 in the morning? Time zones, Maren. He grabbed his phone and wallet. I'll be quick. He left. I got ready slowly, trying to shake the unease crawling up my spine. Picked a blue dress. Did my makeup. Told myself I was being paranoid. At 8 o'clock, I went down to the lobby. Adrian wasn't there. I waited. Checked my phone. No messages. At 8:30, I asked the concierge, "Have you seen my husband, Adrian Clay?" The young man's face shifted. Uncomfortable.
Pitying.
"Signora Clay, your husband, he checked out early this morning." The words didn't make sense. Checked out? No, we're staying another 4 days. He settled the bill at 6 a.m. Left this for you. The concierge handed me an envelope. Cream-colored. Expensive. My name written in Adrian's neat handwriting. My hands shook as I opened it. Inside were divorce papers. Already signed. His signature bold and final at the bottom. No letter. No explanation. Just a single typed line above the signature. "Don't look for me." I read it 3 times.
4.
Waiting for it to make sense. "Signora, are you okay?" The concierge's voice came from far away. I looked up. "My passport. I need my passport. Your husband took your luggage with him. He said you requested separate travel arrangements." The lobby tilted. "He took my passport? I believe so. He had several bags. And my credit cards? My wallet?" The concierge's face confirmed what I already knew. I stood there in a foreign country with nothing. No identification. No money. No way home. And no husband. He'd left me. Not just left, abandoned. Stripped me of everything and disappeared into the morning like I was trash to be discarded. "Signora, please sit." The concierge guided me to a chair. "Let me call the American embassy." I sat. But I didn't cry. Couldn't cry. The shock was too big for tears. People walked past, tourists with cameras, couples holding hands, families arguing over maps. Normal people living normal days. And me, sitting in a hotel lobby in Florence, holding divorce papers, realizing my husband had planned this. Every detail. The trip. The timing. The cruelty. This wasn't spontaneous. This was calculated. "How long have you worked here?" I asked the concierge when he returned. 3 years, signora." "Have you ever seen someone do this before? Leave their spouse like this?" His hesitation told me everything. "Once," he admitted quietly. "But he came back. Said it was a mistake." "Did she take him back?" He shook his head. "Good," I whispered. The embassy sent someone within hours. A kind woman named Patricia, who spoke fluent Italian and treated me like a person instead of a problem. "This happens more than you'd think," she said gently, processing my emergency documents. "Not often, but enough." "He took everything." "I know. We're flagging his passport, documenting the abandonment. It won't be immediate, but there will be consequences." "I don't want consequences. I want to go home." "That'll take about 3 days. Temporary passport, verify your identity, contact your bank. You'll need somewhere to stay." I laughed. It came out bitter. "I don't have money for somewhere to stay. The embassy has resources. We'll arrange."
No.
I stood up. "Steadier now. I'll figure it out." And somehow I did. The hotel manager, an older woman with kind eyes and a sharp mind, let me stay in a smaller room at a reduced rate, payable when my bank sorted everything out. Other guests, hearing whispers of my situation, offered help. Money. Phone calls. Sympathy I didn't want but needed. But the real help came from someone unexpected. On my second night alone, sitting in the hotel restaurant forcing myself to eat, a woman approached my table. "Scusa, I don't mean to intrude, but I heard what happened." I looked up. She was maybe 60, elegant in a simple black dress, gray hair pulled back. "Everyone's heard," I said flatly. "I'm Elena." She gestured to the empty chair. "May I?" I shrugged. She sat. 12 years ago, my husband did something similar. Not in Italy. In Greece. Left me on our anniversary with nothing but a note saying he'd found someone younger. I met her eyes. Found no pity there. Just recognition. "What did you do?" I asked. She smiled.
Sharp and knowing.
I made sure he regretted it. Could a stranger's story become my roadmap to revenge? The tears came on the 3rd night. Not during the day, when embassy workers processed forms and hotel staff whispered sympathetically. Not when I called my sister and heard her voice crack with rage on my behalf. Not even when I sat alone in a room that cost less than my usual manicure, eating bread and cheese because it was all I could afford.
No.
The tears came at 3 in the morning, when the city was quiet and I had nothing left to distract me from the truth. My husband didn't just leave me. He erased me. 32 years of marriage. Gone with a signature. I sobbed into a pillow that smelled like lavender and strangers, my whole body shaking with the kind of grief that comes from realizing the person you loved never existed. The man I built a life with was a performance, and I'd been the only one who didn't know.
By sunrise, the tears were gone.
Replaced by something harder.
Clarity.
Elena found me in the hotel courtyard that morning, drinking espresso I couldn't really taste. "You look different," she said, sitting across from me. "I feel different. Good different or broken different? Dangerous different." She smiled. Even better. Elena wasn't just a survivor. She was a strategist. Over the next 2 days, she told me her story in pieces, how her husband, a wealthy businessman, had tried to leave her with nothing. How she'd fought back not with emotion, but with evidence. "Men like our husbands think we're stupid," Elena said. "They think because we let them lead, we can't walk on our own." He called me paranoid when I asked questions. Of course he did. Gaslighting is easier than honesty. She sipped her wine. But here's what they forget, we know them. We've spent decades watching, learning, managing their lives. We know where the bodies are buried. I don't know anything. He handled all the finances. You know more than you think. You organized his office, managed his schedule, fielded his calls. You have access, Marin. You just never thought to use it. It's too late. He's already filed for divorce. In the US? I assume so. Then you have time. Elena leaned forward. My cousin is a lawyer. Specializes in international cases, asset tracing, financial fraud. He can help. I can't afford a lawyer. You can't afford not to have one. And Luca doesn't take payment until the case is won. She pulled out her phone. Let me call him. Elena, why are you helping me?
She paused.
Set down her phone. Because 12 years ago, I sat where you're sitting. Broken. Humiliated.
Alone.
And a stranger helped me stand back up. I'm just passing it forward. Luca answered on the second ring. Elena spoke rapid Italian, then switched to English. Marin, he wants to talk to you. I took the phone with shaking hands. Miss Clay, Elena told me what happened. His voice was calm, professional. I'm very sorry. Thank you. I need to ask you something, and I need you to be honest. Do you want revenge, or do you want justice? I thought about Adrian. About the smug smile he probably wore when he boarded his flight home. About Crystal, whoever she was. About the life he'd stolen from me. Both, I said. Good answer. Can you get back to the United States? My passport will be ready tomorrow. Don't go home. Not to your house. Do you have family? A sister. In Ohio. Go there. Stay quiet. Don't contact your husband. Don't post on social media. Don't tell anyone except your sister what you're planning. What am I planning? To take back everything he stole. A pause. This won't be easy, Miss Clay. Your husband will have lawyers. Resources. He'll paint you as unstable, bitter, irrational. You'll need to be smarter than he expects. I'm done being what he expects. Then we start now. I need access to every document you can find. Bank statements, tax returns, business contracts, anything that shows money movement. He never showed me those things, but you lived in that house, worked in that office. You know his patterns, his passwords, where he keeps important files. I might be able to get them. Not might. You will. His voice sharpened. Miss Clay, your husband abandoned you in a foreign country. Took your identification. Filed for divorce while you were stranded. This isn't just cruel, it's potentially illegal. But proving it requires evidence. Can you do this?
Could I?
The woman I was 3 days ago would have said no. Would have crawled home, signed whatever papers he wanted, and disappeared into a quiet divorce. But that woman died in a Florence hotel lobby. Yes, I said. I can do this. Good. Elena will help you get home. Once you're in the States, we'll coordinate. And Marin? Yes. Don't underestimate yourself. The fact that you're still standing after what he did? That's strength. Now, let's turn that strength into strategy. I hung up, handed the phone back to Elena. You're really going to fight him? She asked. I'm going to destroy him. She raised her wine glass. To dangerous women. I clinked my water glass against it. To dangerous women. The flight home was long. I spent most of it staring out the window, watching clouds drift past like thoughts I couldn't catch. Linda met me at the airport in Cleveland, her face a mixture of fury and relief. I'm going to kill him, she said, hugging me tight. Get in line. She drove me to her house, a modest split level in the suburbs, nothing like the mansion I'd left behind. But it felt safe.
Real.
You can stay as long as you need, Linda said, setting my temporary bag in the guest room.
Months. Years.
Whatever. It won't be years. Marin, you know he's going to fight dirty. So will I. This isn't you. I looked at my sister, at the concern in her eyes, the fear that I was breaking. You're right. This isn't me. The old me would have accepted this. Signed the papers. Walked away quietly. I sat on the bed. But Adrian didn't just leave me, Linda. He tried to erase me. Like I was nothing. Like 32 years meant nothing. So, what are you going to do? Whatever it takes. That night, I made a list. Not of anger. Of facts. Bank accounts Adrian thought I didn't know about. Passwords he'd used for years, thinking I never paid attention. Client meetings I'd scheduled but never asked about. Offshore company names I'd seen on documents filed carelessly in his home office. Details. Tiny pieces of a puzzle I'd been assembling without realizing it. At midnight, my phone buzzed. Unknown number. Documents ready? Luca. I stared at the message. This was it. The moment I chose war over peace. I typed back, almost. Give me 2 days. His response was immediate. You have 1. He's moving fast. I sat up. What do you mean? Divorce filing just went public. He's claiming you're mentally unstable. Unfit to manage finances. He wants full control of marital assets. My blood went cold. Mentally unstable. Of course. That's how men like Adrian operated. Can't win fairly? Destroy your opponent's credibility. How do you know this? I have sources. Can you get those documents? I looked at my sister's guest room. At the life I'd been forced into. At the choice ahead. Yes. Good. Because tomorrow we go to war. What happens when the underestimated wife becomes the opponent he never saw coming? The key was still under the 3rd flower pot. I stood in the darkness outside my own home, or what used to be my home. At 2 a.m, heart hammering against my ribs. Linda's car idled at the end of the driveway, headlights off, ready for a quick escape. This was insane. Breaking into my own house like a criminal. But Adrian had changed the locks. Made it clear I wasn't welcome. So if I wanted those documents, I had to do this the hard way. The key turned. The alarm beeped. I had 30 seconds. I punched in the code, praying he hadn't changed it. The beeping stopped. I was in. The house felt foreign. Like a museum of someone else's life. Everything was exactly where I'd left it 3 weeks ago, but it didn't belong to me anymore. The furniture I'd chosen. The art I'd hung. The memories I'd made. All his now. I moved quickly through the dark hallway, phone flashlight guiding me to Adrian's office. The door was locked, but I knew where he kept the spare key, inside a fake book on the hallway shelf. Some things never changed. Inside his office, I got to work. File cabinets first. Tax returns going back 7 years. Business contracts. Partnership agreements. I photographed everything with my phone, hands shaking so badly I had to retake half the shots. His computer was password protected, but I knew Adrian. Predictable. Arrogant. I tried his birthday. Nothing. Our anniversary. Nothing. Then I tried something else. Something that made my stomach turn. Crystal 2023. The computer unlocked. Of course. His mistress. His new life. That's what mattered now. I plugged in the flash drive Luca had given me, started copying files. Banking records. Emails. Spreadsheets with company names I didn't recognize. Offshore accounts in the Cayman Islands. Wire transfers to shell corporations. Money moving in patterns designed to hide, not to build. Adrian wasn't just preparing to leave me. He'd been stealing from our company. From us. The file transfer seemed to take forever. 5 minutes. 10. I kept glancing at the door, expecting him to burst in, catch me, call the police. But the house stayed quiet. 15 minutes. The progress bar crept forward. Then I heard it. A car in the driveway. My blood went ice cold. I yanked out the flash drive, shoved it in my pocket, killed the computer screen, ran to the window and saw headlights. Adrian's Mercedes. He wasn't supposed to be here. He was supposed to be at Crystal's apartment. That's what Linda's friend had confirmed. But there he was getting out of his car, briefcase in hand. I had maybe 60 seconds before he walked through that door. I ran. Out of his office, down the hallway, toward the back door. My hands fumbled with the lock. Keys jingled at the front door. The back door finally opened. I slipped through, eased it shut just as I heard the front door swing wide. Hello. Adrian's voice. Suspicious. Alert. I pressed against the side of the house, barely breathing. Watched through the window as lights turned on. As he walked through the living room, the kitchen, heading toward his office. I ran. Down the driveway, past hedges I'd planted, across a lawn I'd once cared about. Linda saw me coming and threw open the car door. Go, go, go. I hissed. She peeled out, no headlights, turning the corner just as Adrian appeared in his office window. We didn't speak for 5 minutes. Just drove. Hearts racing. Adrenaline crashing. Finally, Linda laughed. Actually laughed. Holy hell, Marin. That was insane. I was going to say incredible. She glanced at me. Did you get it? I pulled out the flash drive. Everything. Everything. Offshore accounts. Shell companies. Fraudulent transfers. He's been moving money for months. Maybe years. Linda whistled low. He's going to jail. No. I shook my head. He's going to lose everything first. Then maybe jail. Back at Linda's house, I emailed the files to Luca. All of them. Hundreds of documents. Thousands of transactions. His response came 30 minutes later. This is better than I hoped. He's buried himself. Me, what now? Luca, now we build the case. Quietly. He can't know what's coming. Me, how long? Luca, 2 weeks. Maybe 3. Can you stay hidden that long? I thought about Adrian, smug in his freedom. Crystal, enjoying stolen money. The life they'd built on my erasure. Me, I can stay hidden forever if it means watching him fall. Luca, good. Because when this hits, it hits hard. No half measures. Me, no half measures. I spent the next 2 weeks like a ghost. No social media. No phone calls except to Linda and Luca. No appearances anywhere Adrian might look. Linda brought groceries. I stayed inside. Worked with Luca over encrypted emails. Organized evidence. Built timelines. Connected dots. It was tedious. Exhausting. Infuriating. But slowly, piece by piece, the picture emerged. Adrian had been planning this for at least 2 years. Moving money. Creating false company expenses. Paying Crystal through consulting fees that never existed. He'd even forged my signature on documents transferring my shares of the company to himself. Everything I'd built. Everything I'd earned. Stolen. This is fraud, Luca said during one of our calls. Multiple counts. He could face serious prison time. Will he? If the prosecutor pursues it? Yes. But that's not our concern right now. Our concern is protecting your assets and making sure he can't hide anything else. So, what's next? We file an injunction. Freeze everything. Then we serve him and go to court. When? Monday. Are you ready? Ready? I'd been ready since Florence. Let's do it. The injunction went through on Sunday night. By Monday morning, every account, every property, every asset was legally frozen. And Adrian? He had no idea it was coming. Luca called me Tuesday morning. He knows. Got served an hour ago. How did he react? According to my sources? Not well. Apparently, he threw the papers at the process server and tried to call his lawyer, who, by the way, is scrambling. Good. Marin, the hearing is set for Friday. You need to be there. I'll be there. And you need to be ready. He's going to attack your credibility. Call you unstable, bitter, vindictive.
Can you handle that?
Could I handle being called crazy by the man who'd abandoned me in a foreign country? I've handled worse, I said. Friday came fast. I dressed carefully that morning. Navy suit, simple jewelry, hair pulled back. I looked professional,
Competent. Stable.
everything Adrian would claim I wasn't. Linda drove me to the courthouse. You've got this, she said, squeezing my hand. I know. And for the first time in weeks, I actually believed it. The courtroom was fuller than I expected. Employees from the company. Former friends. People who'd taken Adrian's side, without knowing the truth. And there, in the back row, her face pale and nervous, Crystal. I didn't look at her. Didn't give her the satisfaction. Then Adrian walked in. He looked smaller somehow. Diminished. His expensive suit couldn't hide the panic in his eyes when he saw me sitting calmly at the plaintiff's table. Our eyes met across the room. He looked away first. Could the man who'd controlled everything finally be out of control? The judge was a woman in her 60s with silver hair and eyes that missed nothing. This is a preliminary hearing for asset protection and injunction, she said, voice crisp. Mr. Clay, you've been served notice of your wife's petition to freeze marital assets pending investigation of financial misconduct. Do you understand the charges? Adrian stood, his lawyer beside him, a slick guy in a $1,000 suit who looked like he charged by the syllable. Your Honor, these charges are baseless. My client has done nothing wrong. This is simply a bitter ex-wife attempting to. I didn't ask for commentary, counsel. I asked if your client understands the charges. The lawyer's jaw tightened. Yes, Your Honor. He understands.
Good.
Mrs. Clay, your attorney may proceed. Luca stood. He'd flown in from Italy specifically for this hearing, and he looked every bit the specialist he was: sharp, prepared, lethal. Your Honor, my client was abandoned by her husband in Florence, Italy, without identification, credit cards, or means of return. While she was stranded overseas, Mr. Clay filed for divorce in the United States and began moving marital assets into accounts she cannot access. Objection. Adrian's lawyer shot up. Mrs. Clay was not abandoned. She chose to remain in Italy following a disagreement. My client left her with adequate means to. He took her passport, Luca said calmly. Her wallet. Her credit cards. She had nothing. The judge looked at Adrian. Did you take your wife's passport, Mr. Clay? Adrian shifted. There was a misunderstanding. I thought. Yes or no, Mr. Clay? Yes, but. And her credit cards? Silence. Yes, he admitted. The judge made a note. Continue, counsel. Luca pulled out a folder. Your Honor, we've uncovered evidence of systematic financial fraud. Offshore accounts in the Cayman Islands. Shell corporations used to funnel company money. Falsified business expenses. And forged signatures, Mrs. Clay's signatures, on documents transferring her ownership shares. Adrian's face went red. That's a lie. Mr. Clay, you will remain quiet or I will hold you in contempt, the judge warned. Your Honor, Adrian's lawyer interjected, these allegations are inflammatory and unsubstantiated. We've seen no evidence. Because you didn't look, Luca said. He handed a stack of documents to the bailiff. Bank statements. Wire transfer records. Corporate filings. All documented. All traceable. All fraudulent. The judge flipped through the documents. Her expression darkened with each page. Mr. Clay, these signatures. Your wife's signatures on these transfer documents. Did she sign these? She must have. I don't remember every. Your Honor, Luca interrupted, we've had those signatures analyzed by a forensic document examiner. They're forgeries. I have the report here. He handed over another document. The judge read it, her mouth pressed into a thin line. Mr. Clay, did you forge your wife's signature? Adrian's lawyer leaned over, whispered urgently. Adrian shook his head, sweat beading on his forehead. We had an understanding. She always signed what I needed. This was just. Yes or no, Mr. Clay. The courtroom went silent. Everyone watching, waiting. Adrian looked at me. For just a moment, I saw the truth in his eyes. Not remorse. Anger. Anger that I dared to fight back. Yes, he finally said. But she would have signed them anyway. It was our company. Our money. It was her signature, the judge said coldly. Without her knowledge or consent. That's fraud, Mr. Clay. His lawyer tried to salvage it. Your Honor, this is a domestic dispute being criminalized. My client made mistakes in judgment, yes, but stealing is not a mistake in judgment, counsel. It's a crime. She turned to Luca. What else? We have recorded conversations, Your Honor. Mr. Clay speaking with his mistress about his plans to ditch the dead weight and start fresh. About hiding money where his wife couldn't find it. About ensuring she got nothing in the divorce. Objection. Those recordings could be. They're authenticated, Luca said. Pulled from Mr. Clay's own phone, which Mrs. Clay had legal access to as part of their joint phone plan. Would you like to hear them? The judge nodded. Luca played the first recording. Adrian's voice filled the courtroom, tinny but clear. She'll never figure it out, babe. I've been moving money for months. By the time she realizes what's happening, it'll all be offshore. She'll get the house maybe, if she's lucky. But the real money? That's ours. Crystal's voice younger, eager. What about the business? I'll claim she was never really involved. Just a housewife who helped out sometimes. No judge will believe she built anything. The recording stopped. The courtroom was dead silent. I watched Adrian's face crumble. Watched him realize he'd buried himself. The judge looked at him with something beyond disappointment. Disgust. Mr. Clay, I've seen many divorces in my years on the bench. But I have rarely seen such calculated cruelty. She shuffled the papers in front of her. The injunction stands. All assets remain frozen pending full investigation. Furthermore, I'm ordering an immediate audit of your business, Clay and Associates, to determine the full extent of financial misconduct. Your Honor, that's. I'm not finished. Her voice cut like ice. Mrs. Clay is hereby granted temporary full ownership and control of the marital home and business operations until this matter is resolved. Mr. Clay, you are prohibited from entering the property or interfering with business operations. Violation will result in arrest. Adrian's lawyer grabbed his arm, probably stopping him from saying something that would land him in jail right there. Additionally, the judge continued, I'm referring this case to the district attorney's office for potential criminal prosecution. The evidence of fraud is substantial. She looked at me then. Mrs. Clay, I apologize that you had to endure this. No one should be treated the way your husband treated you. Thank you, Your Honor, I said. My voice was steady, strong. The judge slammed her gavel. Court adjourned. People erupted. Whispers. Gasps. I heard someone behind me say, I can't believe he actually said that. On a recording. Adrian sat frozen, his lawyer frantically typing notes. Crystal stood up and walked out. Didn't look back. Didn't even glance at Adrian. He noticed. I saw the moment he realized she was gone. The moment he understood he'd lost everything. I stood, gathered my things. Lucas smiled at me. You did well. We're not done yet. No. But this was the hard part. The rest is just cleanup. Adrian caught up with me in the hallway. His lawyer tried to stop him, but he shook him off. Marin, wait. I stopped. Turned. He looked terrible. Desperate. Broken. This is insane, he said. You can't actually think. I'm not thinking anything, Adrian. The evidence speaks for itself. I gave you everything. A good life. A beautiful home. Respect. You gave me nothing. I earned everything. Built everything. And you tried to steal it. We can work this out. Drop the charges. Split everything fairly. We can. Fairly? I laughed. Cold. Hard. You left me in a foreign country with nothing and called me dead weight. You forged my signature. Stole from our company. And now you want fair? I made mistakes.
I'm sorry.
But this is too far, Marin. You're destroying me. I stepped closer. Close enough to see the fear in his eyes. No, Adrian. You destroyed yourself. I'm just making sure everyone knows it. I walked away. The company looked different when I walked through the doors as owner. Same building. Same logo. But everything felt new. Or maybe I was the one who was different. Mrs. Clay. The receptionist stood up, surprise and relief flooding her face. You're back. I'm back, I confirmed. Is everyone here? Most of the staff, yes. We've been uncertain. Since Mr. Clay was removed. I know. That's why I'm here. I'd called an all-staff meeting. Sent the email at 6 that morning. By 9, the conference room was packed. Engineers, accountants, salespeople, assistants. Faces I'd known for years, but had barely seen since Adrian pushed me out. They looked nervous. Worried about their jobs. Their futures. I stood at the head of the table and took a breath. I know things have been chaotic. I know you have questions. So, I'm going to be direct. I paused. Clay and Associates has been under investigation for financial fraud. Not because of anything you did. Because of what Adrian did. Murmurs rippled through the room. He's been stealing from this company for years. Moving money offshore. Creating false expenses. Using company funds for personal expenses. And I didn't know because he made sure I didn't know. One of the senior engineers, Marcus, spoke up. What does this mean for us? For our jobs. Your jobs are safe. More than safe. Because here's what's going to happen. I pulled up a presentation on the screen. We're restructuring. New name. New leadership. New profit-sharing model that actually benefits the people who do the work. I showed them the plan. The one I'd spent 2 weeks building with consultants and accountants and Luca's financial team. Fair salaries. Real benefits. Transparent accounting. Profit sharing based on contribution, not just titles. Adrian ran this company like a dictatorship, I said. I'm going to run it like a partnership. You built this place. You deserve to share in its success. The room went silent. Then someone started clapping. Then another. Then everyone. I felt tears sting my eyes but didn't let them fall.
There's one more thing, I said.
The new name. I thought about keeping Clay. It's established. Recognized. But it also represents everything that was wrong here. I clicked to the final slide. So we're changing it. Clay and Company. Rebuilt by integrity. The new logo appeared on screen.
Clean. Modern. Strong.
If you want to stay and rebuild with me, you're welcome. If you want to leave, I understand. But either way, you'll be treated fairly. That's my promise. Marcus stood up. I'm in. Then Janet from accounting. Me too. One by one, everyone in the room stood. Committed. Ready. We got to work immediately. Auditing accounts. Correcting fraudulent entries. Contacting clients to assure them of continuity. It was exhausting. Overwhelming. But for the first time in decades, I felt alive. 3 weeks later, Adrian showed up. I was in my office, his old office, which I'd completely redesigned, when security called. Mrs. Clay, Mr. Clay, is at the front gate. He's asking to see you. Tell him no. He says he won't leave until you talk to him. I sighed.
Fine.
Send him up. But have security stand by. He walked in 5 minutes later, looking like a shadow of himself. Wrinkled suit. Unshaven. Dark circles under his eyes. Marin. His voice cracked.
Please.
Just listen. You have 5 minutes. He sat down uninvited. This is killing me. The business. The house. My reputation. Everything's gone. Yes. You can't actually want this. To destroy everything we built. Everything I built, I corrected. You just took credit for it. That's not true. We were partners. Partners don't forge signatures. Partners don't steal. Partners don't abandon each other in foreign countries. I leaned forward. You thought I was weak, Adrian. Dependent. Easy to discard. You were wrong. I know I hurt you. I know I made terrible choices. But there has to be some part of you that remembers what we had. The good years. The life we shared. The life I gave you, you mean? While you planned your exit and called me dead weight. He flinched. That was...
I didn't mean it like that.
You meant exactly that. And now you're facing consequences. That's not my cruelty, Adrian. That's just reality. Please. He was begging now. Actually begging. Give me something. Anything. I'm living in a rented apartment.
Crystal left.
My friends won't return my calls. I have nothing. Now you know how I felt in Florence. This is revenge. Pure revenge.
No.
I stood up. Revenge would be wanting you to suffer. I don't want that. I just want you gone from my life.
Completely.
Permanently. Marin, your 5 minutes are up. Security will escort you out. 2 security guards appeared at the door. Adrian looked at them, then back at me. I loved you once, he said quietly. Maybe you did. But love doesn't abandon. Love doesn't steal. Love doesn't destroy. I picked up my coffee. Goodbye, Adrian. They escorted him out. I watched from my window as he crossed the parking lot, shoulders slumped, defeated. I felt nothing. Not satisfaction. Not sadness. Just closure. My phone buzzed. Luca. Marin, the DA decided to prosecute. Fraud charges. He'll be formally arrested next week. How long could he get? 5 to 7 years if convicted. Probably less with a plea deal. And the divorce? Final in 30 days. You get the house, the business, half his liquid assets, and restitution for the fraudulent transfers. So it's over. Almost. There's one more thing.
He paused.
Crystal. She's been subpoenaed. Apparently, she kept text messages, emails, evidence of the affair and the financial planning. She's cooperating with prosecutors. Why would she do that? Immunity deal. She was involved in some of the transfers. By testifying against Adrian, she avoids charges herself. I laughed.
Couldn't help it.
So, even his mistress turned on him. Karma has excellent timing, Luca said. How are you feeling? Honestly?
Free.
Good. You deserve that. After we hung up, I sat in my office, my real office now, and looked at the city beyond the window. 6 months ago, I was a wife. A decoration. A woman slowly disappearing into someone else's shadow.
Now?
I was a CEO. An owner. A woman who'd taken back her life. The intercom buzzed. Mrs. Clay, your 3 o'clock is here. Send them in. Back to work. Back to building. This time, for myself. What happens when everything stolen is returned, and the thief has nothing left to take? 6 months after the hearing, I stood in front of the mirror in my bedroom. My actual bedroom now, not the guest room at Linda's, and barely recognized myself. Not because I looked different. Because I felt different. Stronger. Clearer. Whole. The house was mine again. I'd redecorated every room Adrian had touched, erasing him like bad graffiti. New furniture. New art. New life. The business was thriving. We'd landed 3 major contracts. Revenue was up 40%. Employee satisfaction scores hit record highs. Turns out when you treat people like humans instead of assets, they actually want to work for you. Who knew? My phone buzzed.
Linda.
You ready for today? As ready as I'll ever be. I'm proud of you. Thanks, sis. Today was Adrian's sentencing. He pled guilty to fraud charges 3 months ago. His lawyer negotiated it down to avoid trial. But the judge still had discretion on sentencing. I didn't have to go. The prosecutor said my presence wasn't required. But I wanted to be there. Needed to see it end. The courtroom was less crowded this time.
Just the necessary people.
Adrian sat at the defense table looking small in his cheap suit. He'd lost weight, looked older. Good. When the judge entered, we all stood. She reviewed the case file briefly, then looked at Adrian. Mr. Clay, you've pled guilty to multiple counts of financial fraud. Before I hand down sentencing, do you have anything to say? Adrian stood slowly. Your Honor, I've made terrible mistakes. I hurt people I loved, betrayed trust. I can't take back what I did, but I'm deeply sorry. His voice was flat, rehearsed. Not sorry he'd done it. Sorry he'd been caught. The judge didn't look impressed. Mrs. Clay, would you like to make a statement? I hadn't planned to, but suddenly I stood. Your Honor, 6 months ago, my husband left me in a foreign country with nothing. No money, no identification, no dignity. He called me dead weight, treated me like garbage to be disposed of. I looked at Adrian, but he forgot something important. I wasn't weak. I was just quiet. There's a difference. Adrian wouldn't meet my eyes. He tried to erase me from the life I built,
From the business I created.
from my own story. I turned back to the judge. But you can't erase someone who refuses to disappear. So while he was busy celebrating his freedom, I was busy taking back everything he stole. I paused. I don't want revenge, Your Honor. I just want accountability. I want him to understand that actions have consequences. That you can't destroy people without cost. I sat down. The courtroom was silent. The judge nodded slowly. Thank you, Mrs. Clay. She looked at Adrian. Mr. Clay, I've reviewed the evidence extensively. The level of premeditation, the cruelty involved, the betrayal of trust, it's among the worst I've seen in my career. Adrian's lawyer shifted nervously. You didn't just commit fraud. You systematically dismantled your wife's life while pretending to love her. You forged her signature, stole from a company she built, and you did it all believing you were too smart to get caught. The judge's voice turned hard. You weren't smart. You were arrogant. And arrogance always falls. She picked up her gavel. I hereby sentence you to 4 years in federal prison, followed by 3 years supervised release. You will also pay full restitution to Mrs. Clay in the amount of $847,000, plus all legal fees. Adrian's face went white. His lawyer grabbed his arm. Additionally, you are permanently barred from serving as an officer or director of any corporation. Your business licenses are revoked. The gavel came down. Final. Adrian looked back at me one last time. I didn't smile, didn't gloat. I just looked at him until he turned away. Outside the courthouse, reporters were waiting. They'd been following the case. Local scandal, betrayed wife, justice served. The kind of story that makes headlines. Mrs. Clay, how do you feel about the sentence? Mrs. Clay, what's next for you? I stopped. Faced the cameras. I feel relieved. Not because my ex-husband is going to prison, but because this chapter is finally closed. I can move forward now. I paused. As for what's next, I'm rebuilding. Not just the business, but myself. And I'm doing it on my terms. Do you have a message for other women in similar situations?
I thought about that.
About the woman I was 6 months ago, sitting in a Florence hotel lobby, holding divorce papers, feeling like the world had ended.
Yes.
If someone tries to erase you, don't disappear. Don't shrink. Don't accept their version of who you are. I looked directly into the camera. Fight back. Not with anger, but with strategy. Gather evidence. Build allies. Be patient. And when the moment comes, take back everything they tried to steal. One more question. Do you forgive him? Forgiveness isn't something I owe him. It's something I give myself. And I'm working on that. I smiled. But forgetting? Never. I walked away then, done with cameras and questions and explanations. Linda was waiting by her car, grinning. That was perfect. Was it too much? Hell no. That was a mic drop moment. We drove back to the office. My office. My company. My life. That evening, I got a call from an unexpected source. Crystal. I know I'm probably the last person you want to hear from, she said, voice small. You're right. I wanted to say I'm sorry. for my part in everything. Your part was sleeping with my husband and helping him steal from me. So your apology rings a little hollow. Silence. Then, I was an idiot. I believed him when he said you didn't care, that the marriage was already over, that I wasn't breaking anything. You are an adult making choices. Own them. I am. That's why I cooperated with the DA. Why I testified. I'm owning it. I sighed. Crystal, I don't forgive you. I'm not even sure I will. But I'm also not holding on to this anger. It's too heavy. So take your apology, take your immunity deal, and make better choices next time. I will. I promise. I hung up. Later that night, I sat on my back patio with a glass of wine, watching the stars come out. My phone buzzed. A text from Michael, my oldest son. Mom, I heard about the sentencing. Are you okay? Me. I'm better than okay. Michael, I'm sorry I didn't believe you at first. When Dad told his side, I thought, I don't know. I should have known better. Me, you're learning. That's what matters. Michael, love you, Mom. Me, love you too. Both my sons had reached out over the past few months, slowly understanding the truth, seeing their father for who he really was. It hurt them. I knew that. But truth usually does. The stars were bright tonight. Clear. Beautiful. I thought about Florence, about the hotel lobby, about the woman who sat there, broken and abandoned. She felt so far away now, like a different person, a different life. Maybe she was. When you lose everything, do you rebuild the old life or create something completely new? Immediately. It's perfect. Thank you. On the flight home, I looked out the window at clouds drifting below and thought about Adrian. Not with anger, not with bitterness, just with distance. He'd tried to write my ending. Instead, he'd given me my beginning. The man who had everything lost it all. The woman who had nothing gained everything. Not money, not revenge. Herself. And that, in the end, was the real victory. 3 months later, I stood in front of 200 women at a business conference, telling my story. When people ask me what I'd say to my younger self, I always give the same answer. Nothing. Because that version of me needed to go through everything she went through to become who I am now. I looked out at the audience. Women of all ages, all backgrounds, all carrying their own battles. But I will say this. If someone tries to erase you, don't disappear. If someone steals from you, take it back. If someone abandons you, rebuild without them. I paused. Because the greatest revenge isn't making them suffer. It's refusing to let their cruelty define your story. The applause was thunderous. Afterward, women lined up to talk to me, to share their stories, to ask for advice. One woman, tears streaming down her face, grabbed my hands. You gave me permission to fight back, to stop accepting. Thank you. You don't need my permission, I told her gently. You already have everything you need. You just have to decide you're worth fighting for. That night, back in my office, I looked at the sign outside. Clay and Company. Rebuilt by integrity. It wasn't just a company name. It was a promise. A reminder. You can lose everything and still win. Because winning isn't about destroying your enemies. It's about becoming so completely yourself that nothing they did matters anymore. Adrian thought he broke me when he left me in Florence. What he actually did was set me free. And the woman who walked away from that hotel lobby? She never looked back. Because she was too busy looking forward. So what do you think? Could you rebuild yourself after total betrayal? Have you ever had to fight for what was rightfully yours? Share your story in the comments. Your experience might be exactly what someone else needs to hear today. And if this story moved you, inspired you, or made you think differently about resilience and revenge, don't forget to subscribe and hit that notification bell. We have more incredible true stories of courage, transformation, and justice coming your way. Remember, you're never too broken to rebuild. You're never too late to fight back. And you're never alone in your battle. Until next time, stay strong, stay brave, and never let anyone convince you that you're less than extraordinary. Welcome to the family. Your story matters here.